Welcome to US Briefing. The content of the briefing includes: South Korean president will make state visit to UK in November. Adapt to socialist society. David McCallum, star of hit TV series The Man From U.N.C.L.E and NCIS, dies at 90. Explainer: what is saltwater intrusion and how is it affecting Louisiana's drinking water? Explainer: what is saltwater intrusion and how is it affecting Louisiana's drinking water? South Korean president will make state visit to UK in November. Telegraph. South Korean President Yoon will pay a state visit to the UK in November, according to Buckingham Palace. The specific dates and details of the trip have not yet been announced, but it is expected to involve a meeting with Prime Minister Rishi Sunak at Downing Street, as well as a gun salute, an inspection of the Guard, and a carriage procession to Buckingham Palace followed by a state banquet. Yoon, a known karaoke fan, received a standing ovation at a White House dinner in April after singing Don McLean's American Pie at the request of U.S. President Joe Biden. Adapt to socialist society. Al Jazeera. The Chinese government is tightening its control over religious communities in the country, with Muslims, Buddhists, Christians and other religious groups all subject to increasing restrictions and pressure. The government is attempting to sinicize religions, aligning them with Chinese culture and the Communist Party's values. This includes the demolition of religious symbols such as crosses and minarets, replacing them with Chinese-styled pagodas and roofs. It also involves party-approved sermons and prayers, mandatory patriotic education for clergy, and weakening ties to religious authorities outside of China. The Vatican has also faced difficulties in its relationship with China, with a landmark pact in 2018 being violated by the Chinese authorities. The Chinese government's actions are in violation of Article 36 of the Constitution of the People's Republic of China, which guarantees freedom of religion for all citizens. However, this freedom is not respected in practice, and the government is tightening its control over religious communities. David McCallum, star of hit TV series The Man From U.N.C.L.E and NCIS, dies at 90. Telegraph. Scottish actor David McCallum has died at the age of 90, having passed away on October 10. McCallum made his name in the 1960s as a star of the television show The Man From U.N.C.L.E, in which he played the part of Russian agent Ilya Kuryakin opposite Robert Vaughn's Napoleon Solo. The series ran for 4 seasons and spawned a feature film, The Return of the Man From U.N.C.L.E, in 1983. McCallum returned to television in 2003, playing Dr. Donald Ducky Mallard on the CBS procedural NCIS. Born in Glasgow in 1933, McCallum began his career as a musician and trained as an actor at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art. He then worked in theatre and film in the UK before moving to the US. McCallum received 3 Emmy Award nominations, 2 for The Man From U.N.C.L.E and 1 for the TV movie Teacher. He is survived by his second wife, Catherine Carpenter, and their children, Peter and Sophie. Explainer: what is saltwater intrusion and how is it affecting Louisiana's drinking water? The Toronto Star. The Mississippi River has fallen to historic lows, resulting in saltwater intrusion and threatening drinking water supplies in Louisiana. The drought-stricken Mississippi River is allowing saltwater from the Gulf of Mexico to infiltrate upstream, contaminating water supplies. Bottled water has been supplied to the southeastern corner of Louisiana since June, and officials are preparing for the eventuality of saltwater reaching New Orleans. Explainer: what is saltwater intrusion and how is it affecting Louisiana's drinking water? Associated Press. The drought-stricken Mississippi River's low and slow flow is allowing salt water from the Gulf of Mexico to intrude upstream and threaten communities' drinking supplies. Many communities in South Louisiana rely on the river's fresh water, with their water intake treatment facilities located along the river. Unimpeded salt water continues to creep upriver and threatens municipal drinking water. That makes it unsafe to drink, especially for people with kidney disease, high blood pressure, people on a low-sodium diet, infants and pregnant women. White supremacist fight clubs are building covert far-right militias. The Independent. White supremacist groups are using fitness and martial arts to attract and expand their numbers, effectively creating a new militia network, according to a report by the Counter-Extremism Project. The report reveals that at least 46 active clubs have formed in 34 U.S. states since 2020. These clubs outwardly promote group fitness events, but covertly advance fascist and neo-Nazi agendas and prepare for large-scale violence. The groups have organized banner drops with hateful messages and public displays of hate, and many coordinate with or maintain memberships with other far-right groups. Gina Rinehart bolsters Liontown stake as $6.6 billion takeover looms. The Sydney Morning Herald. Mining magnate Gina Rinehart has increased her stake in lithium miner Liontown Resources by $132 million Australian dollars, $96 million. Rinehart's Hancock Prospecting purchased more than 44 million shares, taking its stake in the company to 10.69%. The move comes as U.S. company Albemarle carries out due diligence ahead of a planned $6.6 billion Australian dollars takeover of Liontown. Trump admires a Glock handgun but stopped short of buying as he campaigns in South Carolina. The Toronto Star. Donald Trump has expressed his desire to purchase a weapon during a visit to a gun shop in South Carolina, but his spokesman later clarified that Trump had only indicated he wanted to buy one. Federal law prohibits the sale of guns to people under felony indictment, and it remains to be seen whether Trump's indictment will lead to the sale being blocked. Trump campaign backtracks on claim ex-president bought a gun as it could have broken law. Telegraph. The Trump campaign has retracted a claim that former President Donald Trump purchased a handgun featuring his face and name during a stop in South Carolina. The initial claim was made by campaign staff, who posted a photograph of Trump with the gun, but it was later deleted. It was suggested that Trump could have broken the law by purchasing the gun while under federal indictment. Trump is currently facing 91 counts of federal charges and has denied all of them. The campaign later stated that Trump had only expressed interest in buying the gun, but did not actually purchase it. NCIS actor David McCallum dies at age 90. BBC. British actor David McCallum has died at the age of 90. McCallum was best known for his role as a pathologist on the hit CBS TV program NCIS, which spawned several spin-off series. In the 1960s, he played a secret agent on the spy drama The Man From U.N.C.L.E. He also appeared in films such as The Great Escape and The Greatest Story Ever Told. McCallum was born in Glasgow and initially pursued a career in music before becoming an actor. He is remembered as a true Renaissance man who was fascinated by science and culture. South Korea hosts Japan, China as U.S. allies try to reassure Beijing. Reuters. South Korea is hosting a trilateral meeting with senior diplomats from China and Japan in an attempt to address Beijing's concerns over the tightening cooperation between South Korea and Japan with the United States. The meeting aims to pave the way for the resumption of three-way summits between the country's leaders, which were last held in 2019. China is likely to leverage trilateral trade cooperation to counterbalance the U.S. strategy of strengthening alliances, while Japan and South Korea have an interest in maintaining a stable security relationship with China. The meeting involves South Korean Deputy Foreign Minister Chung Byung-won, Japanese Senior Deputy Foreign Minister Takahiro Funakoshi, and China's Assistant Minister of Foreign Affairs Nong Rong. South Korea is also pushing for a separate visit by President Xi Jinping. Doug Ford is very, very sorry. But for what? The Globe and Mail. Ontario Premier Doug Ford has once again reversed his decision to develop land in the protected Greenbelt around Toronto, following public backlash. Ford apologized for breaking his promise and for creating a process that caused people to question his motives. However, he still believed that opening up the Greenbelt would help address the housing affordability crisis in the region. The controversy surrounding the Greenbelt stems from allegations of corruption, with the government accused of benefiting developers by rezoning land in a secretive process. Whistleblowers who reported Texas AG Ken Paxton to FBI want court to continue lawsuit. Associated Press. A group of whistleblowers who reported Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton to the FBI are continuing their legal fight against him. Four of Paxton's former advisors have asked the Texas Supreme Court to resume their whistleblower lawsuit after never receiving a $3.3 million settlement. The settlement was never approved by Texas lawmakers, who instead impeached Paxton on corruption and bribery charges. Despite his acquittal, Paxton is still under investigation by the FBI and is awaiting trial on state securities fraud charges. Parents falsely accused of trafficking say racial profiling to blame. The Independent. A woman is suing Southwest Airlines after she and her biracial daughter were accused of child trafficking by airline staff. Mary McCarthy and her daughter Moira were met by police officers and airline staff upon disembarking from a flight, who claimed they were acting suspiciously. McCarthy later obtained body cam footage which showed a flight attendant questioning her and suggesting that she was dishonest and that her brother's death was fabricated. The incident has sparked concerns about racial profiling and false accusations of human trafficking by airline staff. Other cases have also emerged of parents being falsely accused of child trafficking while traveling with their children. Biden, Trump square off for Michigan's working-class voters. Washington Post. President Joe Biden has become the first president to walk a picket line by joining members of the United Auto Workers in protesting their contract with the biggest car manufacturers in the country. Former President Donald Trump will arrive in the next county over the following day, trying to tap into the same angst among industrial workers. The visits come as the two leaders test their appeal among the working class in a key swing state, and while Biden is joining a picket line of union members, Trump's remarks will be given at a non-union shop. Biden narrowly won Michigan in 2020, defeating Trump by about 3 percentage points in a state Trump had carried in 2016, and exit polls showed him winning with about two-thirds of those from union households in the state. Trump won more union households in 2016 than any Republican since Ronald Reagan, according to exit polls by Edison Media Research. In 2020, Biden carried union members by 56% to Trump's 42%, according to AP Votecast. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email. That's all the news for today, folks. Let's take a moment to recap the top stories. First, South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol is set to make a state visit to the UK in November. Get ready for a royal welcome, complete with gun salutes, a carriage procession, and a state banquet. I hope President Yoon brings his karaoke skills with him, because we all know he can belt out a mean American pie. Next, we turn to China, where the government is tightening its grip on religious communities. From replacing religious symbols with Chinese-style pagodas to controlling sermons and prayers, the government is trying to sinicize religion. But let's not forget that this goes against the Chinese constitution, which guarantees freedom of religion. Looks like the government needs a refresher on their own laws. In sad news, Scottish actor David McCallum, known for his roles in the Man From U.N.C.L.E. and NCIS, has passed away at the age of 90. He'll be remembered as a true Renaissance man, with a career that spanned music, theater, and film. Rest in peace, Mr. McCallum. We also have an environmental crisis brewing in Louisiana. The drought-stricken Mississippi River is allowing saltwater from the Gulf of Mexico to contaminate drinking water supplies. Bottled water has been supplied to affected areas, but officials are bracing for the worst. Looks like New Orleans might have to put the hurricanes on hold and prepare for a new kind of storm. In more troubling news, white supremacist groups are using fitness and martial arts to recruit and expand their numbers. They're not just hitting the gym, they're building a covert far-right militia network. It's like a twisted version of Fight Club, but instead of soap, they're using hate and violence. Let's hope they never find their Tyler Durden. Moving on to the business world, mining magnate Gina Rinehart is making moves in the lithium industry. She's increased her stake in Liontown Resources, just as U.S. company Albemarle plans a multi-billion-dollar takeover. Looks like Rinehart wants a piece of the lithium pie, and she's not afraid to spend big to get it. Now, let's talk about a mix-up involving former President Donald Trump and a gun shop in South Carolina. First, his campaign claimed he bought a handgun featuring his face and name. But then they backtracked and said he only expressed interest in buying it. I guess we'll have to wait and see if Trump's indictment gets in the way of his gun shopping spree. And finally, we have some stories that raise serious concerns about racial profiling. A woman and her biracial daughter were accused of child trafficking by Southwest Airlines staff, sparking outrage and calls for accountability. This incident is just one of many where parents have been falsely accused while traveling with their children. It's a reminder that we still have a long way to go in combating discrimination and bias. That's all for today's news, but before I sign off, I want to hear from you, our amazing audience. What are your thoughts on these stories? Do you have any questions or comments? Let's start a conversation, the floor is yours.